Hello, my friends. Operator Starsky here. As always, it's a pleasure to see you guys. I don't know why echo cancellation is working here. I have no idea, guys. But today we have a really interesting topic. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start because, the more I'm reading this, the more I just celebrate inside, frankly speaking, because, we can see one of the first cases when Russian covered information operations are finally have some kind of reaction from the government, like in this specific case. And guys, for those who don't know, today we will be talking about a Tennessee-based media, as it's stated in the indictment. But what kind of media? Oh my God, there can be so much media. Let's refer on, let's start from the beginning, okay? Because information is overwhelming. Recently, it was stated by the Department of Justice and Treasury Department that a bunch of Russian agents, Russian informational influencers and domains and organizations were sanctioned because they attempted to influence the informational space of the United States before the elections. And basically, the Attorney General said that the investigation remains ongoing, and the Department of Justice is seizing 32 internet domains that the Russian government and Russian actors have used to influence the US election, which wasn't the first case when they tried to do that, because, as one of our viewers says here, this is only the beginning. More Putler bots trolls out that. Absolutely. That's just the beginning. There were cases of Russia interfering with the US elections in 2017, and I want to refer to this specific article that I mentioned on my previous stream when we were talking coincidentally about Russian bot farms. And I'm talking about this specific, my God, where it is? This specific article made by The Insider. It's a really interesting article about another investigation conducted by the American authorities, and they're talking. I can actually translate it for you in English. It will be like a very ugly translation, but you will get the point, right? So Margarita Simonian, in her interview to Life and Fate on the channel Russia in February 2024, she said that we create a large number of informational sources that are not related to us. What she was talking about? She was talking about the bot farms, basically, because as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine, Russia Today, Sputnik, and other Russian ruports, Russian microphones used by Kremlin to spread their narratives on the West, they were dropped from different channels. They were blocked. I believe they were also blocked on YouTube. That's why they lost the channels of delivering this information to you, my friends. And they needed new channels. As you can see, and we will talk about it later, but as you can see from the very beginning of this story, destroying Russian channels of delivering misinformation to the public is effective. There will be people who will protest against it because of freedom of speech, but there is no freedom of speech in Russia. That's obvious, right? That's an obvious fact. And she says, Margarita Simonyan, the chief editor of Russia Today, while the CIA is digging out that those sources are connected with us, they already have a huge audience. Sometimes they dig and shut them down. Sorry for the translation. It happens that you wake up in the morning and you have 600 channels immediately closed. 600 bots, or like their big fake accounts. But while they close them, we have already made new ones. It's fun. It's a really fun game, when you wage informational warfare on the West and you have such funny games with the CIA and FBI and other law enforcement agencies. In the same interview, the propagandist mentioned that in 2017, American intelligence agencies came to the conclusion that she, Margarita Simonyan, and RT had participated in Russian interference in the US elections. And since then, she has only rested at home, doesn't go anywhere for any fireman. На всякий пожарный. Just in case. Again, sorry for mistranslation. But let's return to our investigation, right? So, indictment was published on the official website of Department of Justice. And in this paper, of course, our heroes, oh my God, our main characters, the individuals that we'll be talking tonight, are not mentioned, of course. What is mentioned is that the company that we're talking about describes itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues, which basically corresponds to these guys, right? Tenet Media is a network of heterodox commentators that focus blah, blah, blah. Find another media Tennessee-based with the same description of themselves, like it's obvious what we're talking about here, right? So I hope that we close this question, okay? That is the Tenet Media, Tennessee-based company, etc., etc. That's for the people who were in doubt. Maybe they were talking about some other people. Who knows? Okay, we have information about their commentators. Here we have Tim Pool. And by the way, this dude, that's the guy who called Ukraine the biggest enemy of the US. Ukraine, that always was a partner with the United States, that was always willing to cooperate, to trade, to be friends. We basically gave up our nuclear weapons so the US citizens could sleep peacefully at night, and were given security guarantees, by the way. And of course, he also said that we need to apologize to Russia. That was always American main adversary, that always wanted to annihilate America, that is waging informational warfare in America, etc., etc. But funny fact is that this very dude, I think he had a mental breakdown, because look at his Twitter now, right? You can see those flags. It's kind of, it's so, I don't know. I think he literally went like mental completely. And here, for example, he says, I am now pro-war. We must fund Israel and Ukraine. Pro-war? Why does it make him pro-war? I have no idea. But I welcome this decision. Team, like, dude, if you're watching this, I always considered you a complete fucking asshole, but this very message, we must fund Israel and Ukraine, I completely support this. This is the first sane shit you have ever said in your entire freaking life. He's like, blah, blah, blah. But this one is interesting. He says, should these allegations that we will talk about in just a second, should these allegations prove true, I, as well as the other personalities and commentators, were deceived and are victims. Because he was deceived. He was basically doing his job for money. He was making content for money for other people. And then somehow... Oh shit, my camera died. Oh my god, it can be true. Anyways, and then somehow it turned out that he was lied to. He was deceived. Okay? Was kind of funny. Okay, what should I do with my camera, guys? Before we continue, I need to fix this somehow. I wasn't prepared for this, but we gotta find a solution. Okay, can I use this one? Can I use... Oh, качечка camera. Okay. All right, we're back. Sorry for the for this stuff. Okay, how to? It was so cringy, so even my camera gave up today. But we're still running. He was deceived, my friends. He was deceived. He was fooled and tricked. At, like, I don't know what else to say, but it's cringy as fuck. But yeah, as our friend OCB says, the Department of Justice basically said the same. And we will talk about it as well. How do I... No, just a second. I know what to do. Since I don't need this. Perfect. This is perfect, my friends. This is a perfect setup. I hope I charged my phone blue. Okay. So let's return to our story. And in order to make it more visual for you guys, I armed myself with a little sketch pad, okay? And here we will be connecting the dots. All right. So what does this paper say? First characters that you should get acquainted with is Konstantin Kalashnikov, aka Kostya, who worked as deputy chief of the Digital Media Projects Department for Russia Today. What is this department? What do they do? So they are the department that creates bots, that basically creates fake accounts. They are the department that created this stuff. Meliorator. Meliorator is the Russian software that creates bots, that creates bot farms. You have souls. This is how they call the fake people. They have thoughts. This is how they call the narratives. and they use those bots to spread their narratives in the social media and to repost the content between the bots, right? So this is the guy from the department. This is what we need to remember, okay? He's not just a random fuck. He is the guy. So Konstantin Kalashnikov. And another one is this lady, Елена Афанасьева, also known as Lena. Елена Афанасьева is another person, the defendant in this case, and she was a producer at Russia Today dealing with overseas affairs and news. So we have two people here. We have Kostya, right? We have Yelena, and these guys work for Russia Today. Okay. On the other hand, they are the guys who edited and requested the content from these guys. Okay, so on the receiving end, we have Tenet Media. It would be faster to just type it, but I am lazy. Lazy people walk twice, as we say in Ukraine. So here we have Tenet, the media itself, okay? And we have another bunch of people, that is the founders of the Tenet Media. And speaking of the founders of the Tenet Media, of course, I'm talking about those two guys, Liam Donovan and Lauren Chen. So we will just literally call them the founders, all right? The founders. Oh my God, such a long word. Oh, Jesus Christ. The founders. Sorry about the handwriting. Okay. So, and Tenet cooperates with the founders. The founders receive money. They are responsible for all the concept, all the informational strategy. They're responsible for the finances, for salaries, paying salaries to their guys, etc., etc. And what happened here? So these guys, Kostya and Yelena, Russian, like ethnic Russians, Russian, how to call them? Russian masters, right? Because these guys, you can consider them like they're puppets now. So the Russian masters were ordering them in Tenet Media. They were ordering them specific content to be posted on their resources, which didn't limit to just YouTube and TikTok, etc., etc. They were posting all the shit on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and a bunch of other social media. So these were like executors. They were subcontractors, basically. Yeah, they were paid and they were executing whatever they were paid for. So these Kostya and Yelena when they contacted the founders of the Tenet Media, when they contacted Liam and his partner, they introduced themselves as assistants for a person who lived in like Hungary slash Brussels slash France, whatever, because they needed a fake person, a fake identity that would be paying them, basically, right? So they came up with this man. So-called Edward Grigorian, because it's kind of suspicious. Yeah, kind of suspicious when, some anonymous people talk to you. Of course, they concealed the fact that they work for Russia today, but it's still suspicious. And of course, you want to know who you receive the money from. That's why they created a fake personality, Edward Grigorian, insanely famous entrepreneur and media magnate, whatever, who never existed, and you can find absolutely zero information about him on Google, right? If you don't find anything about yourself on Google, you either don't exist or you have personal life. So, as Murray Duncan says, 100K per video, we will talk about it as well. So these two Russian people from Russia today, they introduced themselves as the assistants for this man who never existed. And basically what they did, they were editing content, they were sending content, and for example, in some specific cases, I believe it was here. Blah, 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 25. Is it 25? Yeah. It looked different on my iPad. So in some specific cases, this lady Afanasieva, who of course had a different identity, she never talked to them as Yelena Afanasieva. She was operating under the call signs Helena Shudra or Victoria Pasti. Interesting. Okay, and she would literally push the Russian content in the American media. Like literally, she was the one who provided them, together with the Kalashnikov, she was the one who provided them with the content that she wanted to see. For instance, guys, give me just a second. March 23, 2024, Afanasieva privately messaged founder 1, apparently Liam, on Discord, asking that one of our creators record something about Moscow terror attack. Despite public reporting that the foreign terrorist organization ISIS had claimed responsibility for the attack, she requested the US company, the Tenet, blame Ukraine and the United States, writing, "I think we can focus on Ukraine-US angle." It was cool. I agree, it was cool. Where was that? So then she was promoting all kinds of like videos, all kinds of footage from like Russia Today's reporters, and approximately 800 videos. Where did I saw this? Approximately 800 videos were posted on this resource on the Tenet media. It was posted and promoted. 800 videos, even more, were sent from Russia to the American media to link to the doc, please. Yeah, by the way, guys, it's necessary for everybody watching this video to check this out. It's in the chat. It's right there. Guys, open this right now, save to your gadget or your bookmarks and read it and enjoy it. So 800 videos were literally sent to the American media that promoted freedom of speech, independent media, and yada yada, who were fighting against biased Western news agencies and etc. etc. They were sent by Russians. They were sent literally by people employed in the sanctioned Russia Today. How beautiful is that? And one interesting thing was that between, my God, where was the? Between, I believe it was like October 2023 and August 2024, so in this period of time, they received $9.7 million from Russians. The Tenet media received these brave people that you can see here, these brave fighters for the freedom of speech, right? They received $9.7 million from foreign entities via wire transactions. It was really, really good. It was amazing. It was, things like this is the reason why things like Propaganda Study Institute even exist, for real. So it's $9.7 million. Let's remember this for a while because we'll be talking about this number. Returning to our little story. Where were I? Yeah. There was, in this indictment, of course, a different person was mentioned. The person that literally paid, the one that was responsible for the money transactions to these guys, right? Let's call her Margarita. Let's give her like a call sign, right? Margarita. At some point, these guys, the founders, Liam or his partner, they wanted to bill these guys, and they wrote an email asking, where, guys, we are expecting our invoice to be, paid. Because 2 weeks passed, we have never received payment for this invoice. Guys, please do something. And these guys, none of them replied. And the message was addressed to call sign Margarita. And One of the founders checked the time in Moscow and realized that it's like early in the morning, like 5 o'clock. And apparently, some of their, some of their guys, some of their masters, clients, they were sleeping. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Time in Paris, blah, blah, blah. God, this is so exciting. It's it's as if like reading a legit spy story, but it happened in the real life. So the commentator number 2 that is mentioned in this paper, apparently they're talking about our favorite guy, right? This one. He wanted to receive $100,000 per video. And judging from his emotional speech when he was talking about Ukraine being the biggest enemy of the United States, etc., he worked really, really hard to earn those money. I mean, it requires you to be really emotional, really dedicated to what you're doing, right? He played this role absolutely perfectly, in my personal opinion. So those guys, his team, the founders, they were negotiating. They were negotiating the price because they wanted to receive more money. They said that whatever like you're paying, they try to explain whatever you're paying to our guys, it's not reasonable. We need more. So what happened next? Next, there is this thing called, my God. Oh my God, Foreign Agents Registration Act. Those who live in the United States, they know what I'm talking about. Those who don't, basically, if in the United States you are working for foreign entities and you are paid by the foreign entities, you gotta register with the Department of Justice. Why is it so? Like, why do people have to do that? It's literally because the transparency, okay, because people who receive your product, they must understand who they work with, right? They must understand what kind of people are on the other side, who you are, because of course you don't want to receive product from guys like North Korea or I don't know, ISIS, and then in the end of the day be asked stupid questions by FBI or CIA, right? This is why FARA exists in the United States. So when you are paid by the foreign entity, you must register. You must admit this fact. So those guys from Russia Today that introduce themselves as like different people, they don't live in the United States. That's the thing. And because these naive people, these ones, because they were literally paid from foreign accounts and they never registered, that raised a question. And in the end of the day, this the U.S. Department of Justice, in the end of the day, they decided to start to charge them with violating the law. And currently, they are charged oh my God. They charged with conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act. I'm talking about the Konstantin and Yelena, right? I'm talking about those two Russians. Conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Because, again, this stuff, it was not authorized. They never notified authorities about it. Which is so cool. Let's talk about numbers, okay? God, my head is eating all the space on the screen, but I have to beg my pardon because my camera died for some unknown reason. Let's talk about numbers. 100,000 bucks. Apparently, Tim Pool was asking for his services for creating content for Russians. $9.7 million were received by this company. How many tons of money do Russians spend on their propaganda? So we have a small investigation that was conducted by Debunked Disinformation Analysis Center. Can I translate it for you? No. I will translate it myself. So according to the data provided by Debunked Disinformation Analysis Center, Kremlin spent $1.9 billion billion with like 9 zeros, okay, for Russian propaganda in 2023. Center for Civilian Resilience concluded that the expenses for the Russian state media increased 3 times comparing to 2021. So $1.9 billion were spent by Russians on the Russian propaganda in 2023 officially. Officially, these money were spent on Russian TV channels, on Russian, I don't know, podcasts, whatever, like Russian official media, Russia Today, Sputnik, etc. How much money they spent on everything else, including bloggers, including paid opinion makers, including, bot farms themselves, right? Because people who were paying the Tenet media are the same people who created bot farms, who created the whole infrastructure for the bot farms. How much Russian rubles were spent on that, we'll never know. It's this number can be like 10 times bigger. I don't know. I have no idea. But this $1.9 billion is basically tip of the iceberg. That was one of the questions in the chat. So you can imagine From that money, from that big chunk of money, they spent just $10 million on a single American media. Question number 2. Did the founders, these guys, did they know that they were working with Russians? Because apparently Konstantin, Margarita, Yelena, they attempted to conceal their identities, right, according to the Department of Justice. But did they know that they were working for Russians? Let's check out this absolutely amazing document. Okay. Let's check it out. So, according to indictment, in their private correspondence while working directly for IT, pursuant to the Founder 1's written contract, Founder 1 and Founder 2 regularly refer to their sponsor, the RT, as the Russians. For example, on or about May 12, 2021, Founder 2 messaged Founder 1 on Discord. So, we're billing the Russians from the corporation, right? It was 2021. It wasn't after they met the Konstantin and Yelena. It was 2021. It's very important to remember because this is an answer to another question. Did those founders work for the Russians before? And yes, they did. God, what page was that? 22, I believe. I have, guys, I have everything on my phone, but now I have to use my phone as my camera, and I have no idea how much more time it will survive because I didn't charge it. So in 2001, they, my God, Canadian company. In 2001, in March 2021 until February 2022, the founders of Tenet Media created videos, posted social media content, and wrote articles pursuant to a written content contract between founders' Canadian company and RT's parent organization, Ano TV Novosti, TV News in Russian. So before the full-scale Russian invasion for almost a year, these two guys worked for Russia Today and they knew it. Invoices that belong to one of the founders that built Ano TV Novosti for approximately 217 videos, of which approximately 209 were published on the founders' personal YouTube channels. 100% they knew back then that they worked for Russians, like it was obvious. But did they know that they were working for Russians? No. And apparently I have like triple chin on the video. Anyways, so did they know it? One thing you should know about Russians is their obsession with covert operations. If they want you to work with them, if they want to recruit you, in most cases, they will do whatever they can so you will not even know that you work for Russians. For real. Why do they do that? Because it's currently is a trend. Currently, when you support Ukraine, it's a mainstream thing. It's good. Yeah, it's absolutely good. It's overwhelming mainstream, even though there's quite a bunch of people who support Russian terrorism nowadays, but still, like generally, sane people, sane population of Earth, they understand that supporting Ukraine is cool, supporting Russia is meh, right? And when you openly talk about working with Russians, people will look at you sideways. They will give you like sideways look, or how do you say it? That's why for Russians is much more safe to work with you via fake identity or concealing their true identity. Why it's also important? It's because when you don't want to work for them anymore, they will tell you, bro, здравствуй, surprise. Unfortunately, you cannot quit because otherwise people will find out the horrible truth. And this is when, paid relations, marketing relations turn into a blackmail. Russians know how to do it. I suspect that they already did that to different American and not only American opinion makers. Some of them have huge audience that counts tens of millions of people around the world. That's regarding their concealed identities, which is extremely cool. And by the way, they were also talking about Tucker Carlson in this report. For example, where was it? Guys, it's just literally, it's so cool. On or about February 15, 2024, Afanasieva, under her fake identity Helena Shudra, shared with the Tenet a video of a well-known US political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. This is beautiful. And this is another thing that I was talking about. Afanasieva directed Tenet staff to publish specific content that Afanasieva identified. Guys, we are talking, again, I just want you to understand, we are talking about Russian editors, ethnic Russian people working for state-funded Russian media, Russian propagandist channel. They were giving them content. So this content would be posted in the American media, literally, and it would be shared as their own opinion, their own freedom of speech that we will talk about just a bit later as well. How cool is that? I mean, how, like, of course, it's not something positive. It's not something that we should celebrate, but this is how Russian covert operations work. Just so you could understand. And just imagine how cool is that? The dudes were literally sitting there in Tennessee and they were posting content provided to them directly by producers and editors from Russia Today without them even knowing about it. Or maybe they knew, who knows, I'm not sure how exactly Kalashnikov introduced himself to them. I suspect that, from speaking to people, well, apparently you can recognize, like not native English speakers. Who knows? But that's the fact, guys. They were pushing their content into American informational space, and millions of American people were eating that because they Tenet media and those like commentators, like they call themselves, they have millions of subscribers, and millions of American people were eating Russian propaganda every single day in big amounts, like in big quantities. Can you believe the name Kalashnikov, Don? I believe the name Kalashnikov because, for example, I studied in school with a guy who had the same last name. Kalashnikov is not a name for a rifle. Kalashnikov is basically it descends to kalash or kalach. That is like a bread. I don't know how to explain it. And it's a common last name, not only in Russia, but also in Ukraine. So it's a legit last name. Returning to our topic here. So let's talk now about freedom of speech. Because a lot of people out there, unfortunately brainwashed people, right? They will say that that is just Biden's administration trying to shut down an independent media. They are attacking freedom of speech. We are free to speak whatever we like, okay? Especially when we are paid for this. So, freedom of speech. Do you consider a bunch of fucks in Tennessee who received money, who were ordered by Russians to promote Russian disinformation in America, in their motherland that they are fighting for? Do you consider whatever they did a freedom of speech? Because when you are paid to promote some content online that you would never do otherwise, apparently, do you consider that a freedom of speech? I doubt that. Well, yeah, they are free to say it, but freedom of speech is when you can talk openly, is when you have security, is when you are safe to speak, right? It is when you can say whatever you like. Of course, in frames of law, in frames of, things like penal codex and stuff, right? If you call to eliminate people with different skin color, of course, it's not really freedom of speech, I would say. But freedom of speech is when you say that you're tired of whatever your government does because they are unqualified, because they don't care about us, and yada yada. You are free to criticize. You are free to say that being Nazi is wrong and being gay or whatever is right. This is your right to say, and you are free to say it. You are safe when you're saying it because nobody will kill you for that, unlike in Russia, right? That is freedom of speech. That's why, one thing I really doubt when it comes to freedom of speech in this specific case is that, Russia has no freedom of speech, and it's a fact. It's an obvious fact that doesn't require proofs. That's why when you retranslate Russian bullshit from Russian TV channels from a country that doesn't have freedom of speech, that is not something that is considered freedom of speech, because if you think Western media are biased, you don't know Russian media. And another thing that I wanted to mention real quick is independent media. Independent media is one of the indications that freedom of speech exists in your country. It's cool to have independent media that are not biased, that cannot be bought or blackmailed, etc., etc. It's really, really cool. So let's refer to this absolutely beautiful paper, right? Because we want to look at this number, $9.7 million that were paid, that were not just invested into the media, but they were paid by Russians to for them to share their content, right? Or let's take a look at this number. On February 8th, 2023, Founder 1 reported to Persona 1 on Founder 1's outreach to Commentator 1 and Commentator 2. Blah, 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 blah. The Commentator 2 said, and this is allegedly Team Pool, it would take 100,000 per weekly episode to make it worth his while. So basically, if you want me to talk about it, I need $100,000 and I will talk about it. Otherwise, find somebody else. Let's talk about independent media. Do you consider a media that is paid to share propaganda, whatever propaganda, right? It can be Chinese, because some Chinese agent from Chinese state television can also create a fake account and introduce himself as John Smith, and tell you, dude, like, we have money, you have production, let's cooperate. So do you consider a media consisting of a bunch of fucks in Tennessee that were spreading Russian propaganda for money, do you consider this media independent? It's a big problem. I remember the times, again, back in my days when I was a communication specialist in different communications agencies, we had a problem because when you wanted to promote your client, the easiest way always was to just order a paid article in the magazine, which I never did. This is why my bosses, they loved me, because I'm not a marketing specialist. I'm a PR specialist. My thing is creating my God, информационный привод. I don't know how you guys call it. Creating the insight, creating the news, right? Creating the topic that the journalists will be discussing. This is what I've been taught in my university. When you have good content, when you have high quality content, your journalists will always catch it, because this is how they receive their salary. They post about interesting stuff. And this is why I did my best to give journalists the information that they would want to share, right? That's a difference between marketing and public relations, explained in 1 minute. But at the same time, back in, I would say, 2010, 2011, back then in Ukraine, we had such a problem. Small media that wanted to survive, of course, they would like some kind of, benefits. They would definitely post your article or your interview or whatever if you pay them, and this exists everywhere around the world nowadays. But of course, as we all understand, it doesn't make this media independent. Not at all. They only independent to select their clients, select those who will pay. Otherwise, no, it cannot be called independent media. And it's exactly the case with these amazing citizens of Tennessee. Like, those were criticizing media for being biased. Like, those people were, attacking like Western news agencies while posting Russian shit for money. This is so hilarious. I really hope that we will see more cases like that, because United States, seriously, in Europe, for example, we have a lot of measures to counter Russian propaganda, because the best way to combat Russian propaganda is to expose it, is when they create some kind of fake, and you can expose this fake. You can tell people why it's a bullshit, why you should not trust it. However, again, there will be a huge target audience of people that this bullshit is specifically aimed at, that will believe it no matter what. But still, it's as of now, as of this very day, this very moment, exposing Russian propaganda is the most effective way of combating it. Baltic countries, Poland, Ukraine, I'm not sure about countries like Romania, Czechia, Slovakia. I don't know about those guys. Please let me know if you have it. But in Baltic countries, in Poland, in Ukraine, we have like TV shows dedicated to debunking Russian propaganda. In the United States, again, only like volunteers do that. You ate hello from Germany, guten Abend. It's really, really nice that you're with us, considering it's 11 p.m. In the United States, there's a bunch of projects, there's a bunch of groups of volunteers debunking propaganda. But, I was a bit skeptical about the United States, because United States is known as a country that does whatever it takes to protect freedom of speech, freedom of religion, even considering, the fact that Russian Orthodox Church consists 100% of like former KGB and currently FSB spies. But still, but it is the case when the United States surprised me in a really, really positive way. I wish American law enforcement and American authorities all the best. As a former cop, I really hope that we will see much more cases like that. I will be looking forward to see more of that, because it's absolutely, absolutely fantastic. And hopefully, these cases will be taken as an example in other countries, in Europe, in Asia, wherever the Russian misinformation is shared the most. Okay. What did I forget to mention? Of course, this dude right now, he's like, he's extremely, extremely The hell is this? He's extremely, extremely impressed with the fact that currently he has like a lot of followers. I would not be impressed, of course. But like Anna Kasparyan, oh my God. But shit like this, it proves that the dude literally had a mental breakdown. He's not alone, okay? Because our favorite pervert here, I translated it for you. Our favorite pervert announced that he will not work with Russia Today or Sputnik anymore because of the sanctions. Because of the sanctions that were introduced by the Treasury Department and Department of Justice in the United States. How cool! Like, look at this. Look at this scared muzzle. This mug right here. He's like, I just lost so much money. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think about it, because I'm sure that it's not all. I'm sure that very, very soon we will hear more about that. And I applaud to the American authorities that finally started debunking this shit, that finally involved things like justice, things like court, in fighting Russian disinformation and little Russian minions living in the United States. I really, really hope that my phone will survive long enough, because it will be a disaster. Did Putler cut off his success to 12 euro? Well, apparently he realized that, using his hardware, whatever he has, is not really reliable, considering the fact that recently it was confiscated by the law enforcement. Why has he got a Ukraine flag on his Twitter account name now? He went nuts, literally. He's streaming with the phone. Good. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, I'm streaming with the phone. I have no idea why it happened, but my camera decided to die. That's why, unfortunately, you can see my face so close. Somebody may feel a bit inconvenient. I'm really, really sorry about it. But shit happens. Doesn't Team Pool's head get overheated with that snow head? That's the thing, okay, if you don't have hair like me, right? If you're bald, I don't believe that he lives in a freaking Siberia, so he has to wear hat. Why the hell do you wear that shit in Tennessee in summer? I have a theory, though. I think that wearing hat keeps his brain together, keeps his head in one piece. Maybe that's the reason. While in Germany, have you encountered Russian propaganda? How bad is it compared to U.S. media? Situation in the United States with the media is a bit better, because there's a lot of independent media outlets, legit media outlets. In Germany, like big chunk of Germany once was controlled by Kremlin. Okay, and in this piece of land, okay, in this piece of territory, there was this thing called Stasi. Stasi was basically copy paste of FSB, KGB, and before this uh, Eastern Germany united with Western Germany, in the Eastern Germany alone, guys, Stasi had more than 90,000 informers, 90,000 spies, which is freaking a lot, it's a big number, guys. It's like 50% of the Russian army that invaded Ukraine in 2022. 90,000 people were working for Stasi. When Eastern Germany united with Western Germany, where did the Stasi go? They didn't go anywhere. They're still there. And since KGB didn't disappear either, well, this is the result of what we can see in Germany today, unfortunately. So the influence, the Russian direct influence in Germany is kind of big, but I cannot compare it to the United States because the population in the United States is like much bigger. Okay, so it's bad. Situation in the United States, I would say, is much better in terms of independent media, but in terms of mentioning Ukraine, mentioning Russian invasion of Ukraine, situation in Germany is better, because in Germany every single day on the radio I can hear them talking about Ukraine, discussing the recent news and recent updates. That's why, because Germany is still Europe, they're closer to Russia, unfortunately, they realize the threat and they fight. And also there is a direct threat to Germans, because Putin wants to reunite former territories that were controlled by Soviet Union, which also includes Eastern Germany and Eastern Berlin. That's why they realize the threat. Do the results of the German election worry you? They kind of do, but it's not because that's the results of the German elections. It's whatever country where pro-Russian forces spread Russian narratives and want to pump those far-right movements or far-left movements that only want one thing, is like exiting NATO and exiting EU and isolate, basically. Whenever and wherever I see such tendencies, of course, it's very much concerning. Very much. So it's not just Germany. We also see a similar picture in countries like Hungary, for example, countries like Slovakia. In Italy, there are also such tendencies. So it's very, very dangerous. Same with the United States, by the way. There are still forces calling to quit NATO, which will basically make Putin jump and celebrate and give medals to all those brave American people who supported Russian terrorism. How could people make Ukraine into the bad guy? It's a mystery to me. How did some parts international opinion turn anti-Ukraine in the war? Look, there are different people, okay? There are people who can analyze facts. There are people who can um, like check sources of information. That's obvious. But there are people who believe facts. Then there are people who believe all kinds of mysteries, conspiracies, all kinds of bullshit. And again, it's normal. A lot of people are like that. You know, a lot of people believe in, I don't know, ghosts, aliens, NATO expansion, and stuff like that. So those guys who believe in whatever except facts, they are Putin's main target audience. They are Putin's main viewers, main listeners, because all Russian propaganda is directed at such people who cannot think critically. Again, I don't blame people for that. I blame education because, like, guys, if in school you were not taught that you can be smart and you can be good person, then you will apparently grow as a sociopath who hates other people, who cannot have empathy, and who doesn't want to study. Because generally, I have never met a lot of people who wanted to study, who wanted to educate themselves. So those guys are Russians' main target audience. And unfortunately, this is really effective because there's a lot of those people. I'm not saying that there's like majority of them, because one way or another, you know, whatever the bullshit is, whatever the lie, you know, is shared through media, but people, you know, we all have this protection mechanism. We have our eyes to see, we have ears to hear, we have brain that helps us analyze what is good and what is evil, you know? And if you have just a bit of empathy and you can project evil done to other people on yourself, if you can at least understand those people, if you can walk their shoes and stuff, then you can escape, you know, you can escape that group of risk. But unfortunately, not everybody are like that. If you analyze all the pro-Russian bullshit, all the supporters of the Russian terrorism on the West, you can discover one interesting thing. Everybody, 100% of people, support Ukraine because they have empathy. They can feel whatever Ukrainians feel. They can feel our pain. They can feel our fear for our families. They can empathize. 100% of people who support Russian terrorism, who call Ukraine to surrender and Ukrainians to die, they do that only because this support of the Russian terrorism is based on hatred. They hate Ukraine, they hate democracy, because generally they don't really want democracy in their country, even if it's the United States, because looking at Putin, looking at what he does, they want to be like, you know, the top that produces violence on everybody below them, like they see in Russia. In Russia, it's like that. In Russia, there's elites that commit violence against people, and then those people, they grow and they are educated to live this way, to commit violence towards everybody else, against weaker Russians, against people from other countries, because this is the main reason why they despise everybody. You will never impress Russians, even if this is like the I don't know, the biggest degenerate who lives like in a wild village with an outhouse without electricity and internet and whatever, you will never impress him if you bring him to like Florida, all right, or if you bring him to I don't know, Dortmund. He will never be impressed. He will keep hating you because he was educated this way. Unfortunately, this is how Russians raise those generations of zombies. It's a horrible, horrible truth. And supporters of Russian terrorism who were lucky to be born and raised in a democratic society, they are also educated, again, unfortunately, by Russian bullshitters that they can do like Putin, that they can become people who commit violence. That they can become people who can control, manipulate others. They don't need democracy for that. Democracy doesn't tolerate such people, and that is the fact. So sorry for a long answer, but there's a lot of components to this. But will they kill other humans if Putin tells them to do so? I believe so. As you can see nowadays, there is a lot of simple Russian men with deep soul, with deep inner universe, absolutely amazing people who just come to Ukraine, kill families, rape dogs and goats, and snatch conditioners and toilets and bring them to Russia. Why do they do that? Well, because they were educated like that. The reason is not that Putin is bad. The reason is the collective Putin in Russia. That is one of the reasons. And again, the source of all this evil is this absolutely amazing Russian cultural education, I don't know, Russian lifestyle. That is literally looks like this vertical between the people who commit violence and people below them. It's either you evolve and stop doing that, and one of the ways to do that is leave Russia, like, I don't know, like sanctioned Ivan, like my bro. Leave Russia, go to another country, find yourself there where you are not required to commit violence, and you will have a proper life, peaceful life, good relations with everybody else. Or you can just continue this chain, the person who commits violence and the victim. You can only you have only two ways. Russian diaspora supports Russia in the war. Big time they do. Of course, because Russian diaspora has a lot of like relatives in Russia, etc., etc. On the other hand, not all do that. There is Dr. Mike on YouTube. He came to the US when he was a teenager, I believe, maybe even younger. And he is one of the biggest supporters of Ukraine. He collects insane amount of funds to help Ukrainians. He's Russian. Take a look at, I don't know, Vlad Vexler or, again, sanctioned Ivan. Take a look at those guys fighting in the Freedom for Russia Legion or Russian Voluntary Corps, Siberian Battalion. Those are legit people. Then there are like everybody else. Even Russian political prisoners like Karamurza and everybody else, unfortunately, they were also educated in this violent Russian society, and unfortunately, they still keep some of the imperialism in themselves. Because wife of Navalny recently was criticizing, the decolonizers of Russia. She said that I want to see those people. I want them to explain me why Russia should be decolonized, because we have so many people who have like common cultural and historical background, like Yakuti, Buryats, Chukchas, and everybody else, all those national minorities that were literally captured and assimilated by Russian invaders. What did they find a Russian bot farm? Maybe what did they find about a Russian bot farm? So recently there was a case. The case was published by the FBI regarding the bot farm that was created by Russia Today employees by that very department for digital media on this amazing Russian channel. And they discovered that there were a bunch of those fake accounts found on Twitter that were connected to a specific domain used by, that was, my God, sorry, I have to switch between questions and comments. Department of Justice, but FBI took part in the investigation. Investigation basically was conducted by FBI, and the Department of Justice published the report. You can find it on the website of Department of Justice. So the thing was, FBI agents discovered a domain that was bought by Russians from Russia Today to control a bot farm through a specific software that used AI-powered bots and other automated libraries that would create hundreds and if not thousands of fake accounts on Twitter and other social media in the matter of seconds. So literally, you can just push the button and you have 100 fake people on the internet. Then you can press another button, and those fake people on the internet will be creating a content based on the Russian narratives. And those bots, one funny thing is that those bots were supporting one of the current presidential candidates in the United States. They were massively supporting this candidate. And, I believe that they don't do that because, that candidate fits Russia well. They do it because that candidate apparently required their services. And they were paid to do that. So I'm not sure if I have this report here. Just a second. I believe I saved it. Yeah, here it is, guys. Justice Department leads efforts among federal, international, and private sector partners to disrupt covered Russian government-operated social media bot farm. I will copy this link and I will drop it in the chat for you guys. We literally talked about it in our previous stream because we were discussing bots, and this topic turned out to be extremely interesting for Russian bots, our little Russian viewers, because they visited this stream massively, which I think is a good thing. Because, if Russians don't say anything in the comments, it means that my content sucks. And especially if Russians say something good about you, it means that there's something really wrong with you, right? I wonder if Department of Justice shared the code. So Department of Justice shared a bunch of code, but it's not the whole software. They shared, for example, the code that was used to connect the fake accounts on Twitter with the main software and things like that. So they don't possess the software itself, as far as I remember. But who knows? Maybe they do. Maybe they have this, like Enigma machine of 21st century. But guys, on the other hand, like, what's the point of creating bots in the modern society? It's like, guys, this goes against what we are fighting for. We are fighting for freedom of speech. Bots are fighting against freedom of speech. Because again, guys, even from this standpoint, if you support freedom of speech and you want to talk, you are just one voice. Then there's like 6 or 10 million fake accounts that just overwhelm you, and your voice will never be heard, even from this standpoint. That is how it works. Yeah, it's really interesting because they use AI-powered bots. What do I mean? There is a model, right? For example, you have ChatGPT. You can talk to ChatGPT. For example, you can ask this chat to pretend that he or she is like a shopkeeper and you are a client and you want to practice your German. And you talk to this ChatGPT in German language. It's possible the ChatGPT can do that because it was trained on like massive amount of different texts that were fed to this chat from all around the internet. You can train a specific model. You can train a model that would produce the content that you need. For example, you can train a model to talk using the same type of phrases, the same way of speech that, for example, Donald Trump uses. You can also use another model, because that is a text generative model. That another one can be like sound generative model that, again, was fed big amount of Trump's speech, and eventually this model learns how to generate his speech. Or like real life example, there were a lot of deep fakes created involving like models of General Zaluzhny or Budanov, a lot of like prominent Ukrainian figures. Russians did a lot of deep fakes involving them. So this is possible nowadays. You can train a model to talk like me, using like my way of speaking, this boring voice with a lot of pauses because my English is bad, you know, and it will look legit, literally. So that is the way those bots work. They were the model that creates content for those bots. It was fed enormous amounts of Russian propaganda, literally. Main Russian narratives that Ukraine bad, Ukraine Nazi, vote Trump, Democrats good, LGBTQ bad, America for Americans, southern border, save southern border, and other stuff. So after that, the bots learned basically how to, not the bots themselves, but this model, learned how to produce this content. They also create such models for producing, for example, news content. News content for fake news websites. And that is another, it's a different topic. We discussed it as well. China, Iran too. Yeah, that is the case. So in China and Iran, there are also cases when those fakes were produced in big numbers. This is true. Because besides Russia, the hybrid informational warfare is also adopted from Russia by their little friends, their biggest partners, which is like China, Iran, etc., etc. I believe 2008, we were in Washington, D.C., with my colleagues from the World Bank, and there was a speech by Professor Clay Shirky, who said that like in future, machines will produce content instead of us. And back then in 2008, 16 years ago, I was sitting there and I was like, this is mind-blowing. How can it even be possible? Like, machines producing content for us, but it's like, it cannot be done. 16 years ago, I could not even imagine that we'll be living in the world where totalitarian regimes use AI to create content and spread disinformation. Unfortunately, people, the biggest problem that we have nowadays is that their main target audience is too ignorant. They will believe all kinds of crazy shit, but whenever they see things like what, Propaganda Study Institute? Who needs that crap? Like, what kind of propaganda? I'm smart enough to recognize all kinds of propaganda. And then they subscribe to like Team Pool, Tucker Carlson. Guys, do you believe that Tucker Carlson went to Russia for free? Come on. But after reading this paper published by the Department of Justice, you will know like approximate prices, okay? Approximate prices for the content. You can just imagine what kind of money is that. 2007, Andrew NG was starting to post YouTube videos with machine learning lectures. He was using Octave in Win 7. Good times. Russia is behind the most divisive things on the right and left, playing both sides of the fence and trying to make US politics as much as they can about hot button issues they made. Yeah, I agree on that. Dividing society in the United States is like the best achievement they gained over the past years. Because, I don't remember who was that. I think, was it Professor Gerdes? I don't remember. One of my guests on my channel who said that the most horrible thing I saw was when after 9/11, like whole American nation was united. Because that meant that, all other opinions were literally like suppressed, at least temporarily. But on the other hand, this is why we have such things as nation, because when your nation doesn't have unity, it's good thing, it's proper thing, but everything must have a proper time, right? There must be proper time for different opinions, and then there must be proper time to unite. Nowadays, United States must be united as one against the totalitarian regimes, against people who hate democracy, who want it to be destroyed, against people who openly say that we should hit Washington with our amazing nuclear missiles, people who arm enemies of United States with Russian-made rifles. I'm talking about AK-47, AK-74, right? Because majority of American soldiers, if they were killed with a bullet, they were killed with a bullet shot from a Russian-made rifle. It's a fact. If we analyze 20th, 21st century, this is how it was. It's either 7.62 by 39 or 5.45 by 39. United States must be united and Europe must be united, especially now. This time is critical, guys. I will be talking about it every single time, but today we must stay united. Otherwise, we are dead. If we are fighting against Russia on our own, we are dead. Not a single country can withstand it. Together, Russia literally has no chance. And of course, we need politicians with balls. That is second most important thing. What is wrong with the Tucker's face? Yeah, I remember, when Tucker Carlson was asked about Putin, and he went like, "Who?" Which was completely freaking ridiculous. I would like to see what he thinks about it now. Considering the recent investigation, maybe we will see some of the pro-Russian propagandists on the West running to Russia. In the end, there's beautiful grocery stores that Tucker Carlson liked so much, beautiful Russian subways. I think he would definitely find a proper place in this amazing, amazing country. Because again, if you believe that he did it for free, I have bad news for you. Thank you to one who gifted me a membership, and also I would like to say thank you to everybody who supports my channel, which is extremely, extremely important for me, guys. I appreciate it. You keep my channel running. And speaking of this, guys, I promise that I will torture you tonight, and I will keep my promise because today we went to a different city, specifically city where you can find one of the coolest Ukrainian restaurants in Germany. And there we ate this. So white stuff is sour cream, right? And the red stuff, my friends, is borscht. And it was freaking amazing. It was like the best thing you can imagine. It was, when I ate the first spoon of borscht, it was as if I went straight to heaven. And I didn't return back to Earth until I ate everything. But it's not all, my friends, because if you want to eat proper Ukrainian borscht, you have to eat it with pampushkas. And pampushkas is this beautiful bread. It's soft, it's hot, and it tastes like garlic. And are you tortured enough yet? No? Okay, then I will continue. And it tastes like garlic, and that is like, that dill and stuff. And there on the background, you can see beer. And it was perfect beer. It was perfectly cold. It tasted, again, perfectly. It was really, really good. So this garlic bread, we call it pampushkas, okay, pampushki. Remember this name because if you want to eat proper borscht, you have to always eat it with pampushkas and sour cream. But it's not all, my friends, because I was greedy and frankly speaking, I was stupid because, I was like really, really hungry and greedy again. And I was like, damn it, I need like something more than that because I shared borscht with my lady and I was like, I need something more. So I ordered myself the dumplings that we call pelmeni. I cannot say that pelmeni is like Ukrainian natural stuff, like native Ukrainian cuisine, right? But at the same time, I would say it's extremely popular in Ukraine. It's really, really good. So inside, no, Red Ball, it's not salo. I didn't order it this time. I'm joking here, my friends. So this is dumplings. Inside of those dumplings, you can find perfect meat. In this specific case, it was like pork, but it can be made with anything else, with like chicken, whatever. Classically, it's pork. And you can also see that sour cream and dill and onion rings, fried onion rings. So that is the perfect way to eat them. I prefer those specific dumplings. I prefer them with literally a bit of butter and a bit of vinegar. It tastes really, really cool. But this way, it's also very, very nice. Pierogi is good for catching Indian scammers. I don't know, but I tell you this. Basically, there is not a big difference between pierogi and vareniki. Basically, that is the same. Basically, that is something that we share together with our Polish friends. Like besides the name, that's basically the same. Yeah, but behind those dumplings, there on the background. Unfortunately, it's a bit blurry, but there you can see potato and Kiev chicken or chicken Kiev. Guys, that is fantastic. That is just like the best thing you can imagine. So, as you probably understand, today I was extremely happy and extremely overeaten. But we talked about it today, and it reminded me of my grandma because when you go to a village to visit your grandma in Ukraine, for example, it's always like that. Even if, even if you weigh like I don't know, 300 kilos as a teenager, right? I'm talking as a teenager because I was always like thin. My brother was like a big guy. He's still a big guy. Back in those days, we were kids, and we would go to village and visit our grandma. And like me, okay, I'm out of question. But my brother, he's a big guy, and the grandma would go like, oh my god, look at you, you are so thin, oh my god, we have to fix it. And then like you see all that stuff, like borscht, you see that like pelmeni, then she would start stuffing you with that. And it's what Ukrainian grandmas do. Like she would stuff you. She would give you like pelmeni. She would give you borscht. She would give you soup. She would give you frikadelki, pampushkas. And then when you're crying already, your cheeks are like cracking. She goes. Time for a dessert, and she gives you like cake. She gives you pies. She gives you whatever jams. She makes this sandwich with like butter and jam and cream, and she stuffs you with all that. And then after a month you realize that you cannot fit in your pants because like you grow ass like this big, okay? And she's like oh my god, look at you, you didn't gain anything, I should have worked harder. That's classic Ukrainian grandma. I think that in other Slavic countries it's like that, but in Ukraine it's always like that. No matter like if you are big or small or thin or not, the grandma will always be like that. She will literally stuff you with everything. Kids should be fed until they pop. And this is what I absolutely love about Ukrainian culture. This is something that we have. Cartman star. Like seriously, I have like you see like 3 chins now since I was a kid. Grandmothers are universal. Yeah, I suspect that. I have to wait 3 hours until dinner. Michael, what you can do, look, you can pause this video, right? And you can meditate using this picture, and you can also curse me all this time, okay? It will help you. Oh, grandparents are great. I have the coolest ever. Grandma cooked the best for me. Grandma and grandpa also made sure I learned decent Polish. That's nice. How do you stay so slim? I literally have no idea. Literally. And that's a problem actually, because in order to look properly, I have to work out like crazy. Otherwise, I will be too slim. It's literally whatever I eat gets just, I don't know, burned, like in the oven. How come aren't there aren't more Russian bots in the chat? Because we have brave moderators. We have Newman, we have Ali, and like literally they just eliminate everybody on site. They do it faster than I can even react. Today there was this dude in the chat. He was like, so why listening to Ukrainian propaganda is good and listening to Russian propaganda is bad? I literally I just prepared to answer. Bam, he's dead. Ellie is like I am a grandfather. I do the same with my grandkids. My big respect to you, sir. My enormous respect to you. I'm the same, fast metabolism. So in the world of bodybuilding, it's called ectomorph. Being an ectomorph sucks, big time. It sucks because, in order to gain mass, you gotta eat like crazy, and you cannot work out often. Otherwise, you will only get thinner. But the only positive way, the only positive thing about being an ectomorph is that basically you can eat anything. You can eat whatever you like, and other people will envy you. You can drop 10 spoons of sugar in your coffee, and that is just, everything will burn inside you. Russian bots get vaporized by the mods before they appear. Gotta love that. Yeah, absolutely. Thumbs up to our mods. And also, guys, thumbs up to everybody. Thumbs up to you all. My big gratitude and appreciation to everybody who supports my channel, everybody who stays with me, because currently in the chat there are people that I've seen years ago during my very, very first streams with you, my friends. And today we all agreed that we are not, like streamer and viewers anymore. We are family, basically. And this is something that makes our community unique and cool. Guys, I will be going to bed. Who's paying Colonel McGregor? I'm sure it's not George Soros. George Soros is paying me. At least he should. Also, Ellie is paying me her daily taxes, her 40 cents a day. But guys, I will be going to bed. I really, really hope to see you very, very soon. Tomorrow's Friday. I think that tomorrow we can just talk about life, food, and the recent updates. And food. And life. And borscht. And ice cream and other things. So, we'll see you later. Thank you so much for being with me. I enjoyed this stream very, very much, even though you had to see my face like this big on the screen. Guys, as always, thank you for supporting Ukraine. This is a proper thing to do. I love you. You are amazing. You are fantastic. And thank you for being my viewers and my friends. We'll see you later. Be safe and goodbye.